political committee meeting of the Aam Aadmi Party, where Kejriwal will put in his resignation and his successor will be chosen. Thereafter, he will meet the Lieutenant Governor in the evening. He will submit his resignation to the LG, along with the name of who is going to be Delhi's Chief Minister next. But the question is, why now? After all, for 6 months, from March till he was released last week, he was in jail. And every single day when he was in jail, the BJP was saying that Mr Kejriwal has no moral right to continue as Chief Minister. Having dug his heels in all these past 6 months, why decide to resign now? Now when he's out on bail. Now when he can claim a political moral high ground. Is that the reason why he's resigning? And will this be successful? Because let's make no mistake about this. This is a move, a political move done with an aim of some kind of success in the upcoming Delhi Assembly elections, which of course are due in just February. The question is, all of these charges and the cloud of corruption over Kejriwal and other ministers, Sisodia and others, a whole host of whom were in jail in the Liquorgate scandal, will this cloud of corruption, has it shattered that halo? And has it shattered it to the extent that this gambit of Mr. Kejriwal resigning and trying to claim the moral high ground, will it possibly backfire?
सीएम की कुर्सी से इस्तीफा देने जा रहा हूं। मैं जनता के बीच में जाऊंगा, गली गली में जाऊंगा, घर घर में जाऊंगा, और जब तक जनता अपना फैसला ना सुना दे कि केजरीवाल ईमानदार है, तब तक मैं सीएम की कुर्सी के ऊपर नहीं बैठूंगा।
दिल्ली के आम लोगों को अरविंद केजरीवाल और उनकी ईमानदारी पे भरोसा है।
तो कहेंगे देखो ये ना सरकार से भाग रहे, तो सरकार से नहीं भाग रहे, वो अपनी मुख्यमंत्री की कुर्सी को त्याग कर रहे हैं और कह रहे हैं अगर जनता वापस बिठाएगी और कहेगी हमारा बेटा ईमानदार है तो बैठ जाऊंगा, वरना अपने घर जाऊंगा।
आपने बात करी जनता की अदालत की, तो बहुत विनम्रता से कहूंगी, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने लोकसभा के चुनाव में भी आकर प्रचार करा था। जेल का जवाब वोट उन्हीं का कैंपेन था। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने यहाँ पर सत्ता भोगी है, लेकिन दिल्ली वासियों के लिए कुछ करा नहीं।
से पैसा और पैसे से सत्ता, इस खेल के खेलने के लिए मैं नहीं आया था।
Okay, will this political gamble, will it pay or will it misfire? RP Singh, national spokesperson of the BJP, joining us. Akshay Marathe, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist, and Rajat Sethi, political commentator, also joining us. Akshay Marathe, let me start with you. For the last 6 months, since March, when he was sent to jail, there has been pressure on Mr. Kejriwal to resign, saying he has no moral right to continue. The BJP has been saying that day in, day out. Even the Congress party has been saying that from time to time, your alliance partner in the India alliance. And yet Mr. Kejriwal chose not to resign for these last 6 months, even though he didn't have any portfolio. And it would have been the easiest thing for him to do, to resign. In fact, it would have been morally and politically the correct thing for him to do, to resign. But now, having come out on bail, is this an attempt, when no one is asking for his resignation, and everybody knows in less than 3 or 4 months Delhi goes to polls, is he trying to seek the moral high ground by putting in his resignation now? The BJP is saying this is political theatre, this is drama.
Zaka, you've asked me several questions, so let me answer them point by point. The first question you asked me about Arvind Kejriwal not resigning when he was in jail. Let me attack that one first. The reason that Arvind Kejriwal was sent to jail is because the BJP's investigative authorities foisted a false case on him. There was no trial against him. There was no conviction against him. But without any judicial process, he was sent to jail. So he was trying to make a very principled point that a chief minister elected by 62 MLAs out of 70 cannot be removed from his position merely on the basis of charges that have been leveled by his opposition. That was a very principled point he was trying to make, that if you want to remove Arvind Kejriwal, you fight him in the election, you defeat him, and he will leave. But you cannot force somebody out of his elected position just by leveling false allegations.
No, one second. One second. Akshay, there is no trial yet. There is no conviction yet. So why is he resigning? So all the points that you just mentioned, there's no compelling reason for him to resign now. Why is he doing that?
No, in fact, now his resignation makes even more sense. Because for 6 months, when he was not resigning, he was accused of being greedy for power. How can somebody who was in jail in 45-degree summer weather, be greedy for power? He was in jail. But now when he has come out of jail on bail, after the Supreme Court has said that the CBI is a caged parrot, he is showing the public that he's not here for power. He's not greedy for power. He is going back to his janta that has voted for him.
In fact, the opposite would have been true. Akshay, one second. I'm just not able to understand the logic of what you're trying to say. The opposite would have been true if at the time that he was sent to jail, and you folks believe that he was wrongfully sent. If at the time that he was sent to jail, he resigned and then got bail last week and came back and then claimed the chief minister's chair, that would have been a moral high ground. Your logic just does not add up. I'm sorry. I mean, our viewers are watching this. I don't think they're buying this.
I respectfully want to disagree with you. I think Aam Aadmi Party, as a party who has won Delhi in the past, has a better pulse on the people. And Arvind Kejriwal has shown time and time again that he is delivering for his people. And now he's saying to his people that if you think I'm honest, vote for me and I will come back as your chief minister. Tell me one politician in India, Zaka, who has the guts, the courage to say that.
RP saying,
vote for me only
so
if you think I'm honest.
Akshay Marathe, the Aam Aadmi Party are saying that Mr Kejriwal is doing this on his own terms. He's not doing this because the BJP asked him to do so. The BJP said he has to resign, no moral right to continue for 6 months when he was in jail. But now, after getting bail and after what the Supreme Court, the chastising that it did of the CBI, now he can claim the moral high ground and he can resign. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party is saying. He's doing it on his own terms, not on the terms that the BJP set for him.
Zaka, had that been true, we have been asking for his resignation. We can accept politically that, okay, he didn't resign because of us, but he has resigned because of the compulsion. And he's trying to create a virtue out of the compulsion. Compulsion is, please read the Supreme Court decision, page number 31. It says, debar the applicant, the appellant from entering the office of Chief Minister and Daily Secretary, as well as from signing files. So what was the option left with him? He has no other option than resigning. Because he can't sign file, he can't go to the Chief Minister's office, he can't call for a cabinet meeting.
No, but that he couldn't do when he was in jail also.
He's trying to create a virtue.
No, that he couldn't do when he was in jail also.
Sir, please. That time he is excused that he is in jail, so he can't do that. But now out of the jail, he is being, this is the precondition of the court. He said the precondition of the, not mine, this is the precondition of the court. And so we have to go with the court. Now coming to the issue of Mr. Marathe saying that, oh, he is Mr. Honest. Let me read out another page number 13, para number 19, last line. It says, required further explanation as there was a reasonable suspicion of his involvement in the commission. This is the court order, the latest. I'm not talking about the earlier order which said 338 crore rupees. Their observation of court that there is a bungling of 338 crore rupees, or there is a case good enough to start a trial. Otherwise, the best part would have been court would have said this is ED order, ED's charge sheet, dump it in the court or put it in the.
No, but RP Singh Saab, no, one second. You see, this is where the BJP seems to be missing what Mr. Kejriwal is trying to do. These legal things don't matter. Ultimately, he's throwing the ball in the court of the people of Delhi and saying, "Aap batao कि मैं ईमानदार हूं कि नहीं हूं." दिल्ली की जनता बताएगी कि मैं ईमानदार हूं कि नहीं हूं. He is converting this whole thing. Now, Liquor Gate will not be decided on the merits of the case. Liquor Gate will be decided by the result of the assembly election next year. That's what he is doing, and you are not able to counter it politically.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I'll give you the answer for that also. Just few months back, in month of May, he was out on bail campaigning.
Yes.
He said, "You want me out of jail? Vote for me." People said, "Sorry, you are indulged into the liquor scam. We are not voting for you." And it was when they were clubbed together with as part of India Alliance and they have gone for election with Congress Party. This time he is saying, "If I am honest, people will tell him how much honest he is." And again, they can drumbeat about their work. I'll have to just tell you three things. One, You remember that this summer your channel also done, Hindi channel has done stories how water was a scarcity in Delhi, how people were depending on the water tanks. This one. Secondly, after that, there was an overflow of the, give me another second, overflow of the sewage. 3 people were killed, sorry, they were murdered in Delhi because of their negligence. And just wait for 2 months, you will cover your face because of pollution. So this is how Delhi is being run. And also, please go through the observation of Manmohan Singh, the acting Chief Justice of Delhi, in month of April, saying that the condition of school is crashing.
Okay.
There are schools being run in 10 sheds, there are 120 children in a class.
Let me bring in Rashid Gidwai and Rajat Sethi after that. The moot point is this, that Arvind Kejriwal has been running Delhi from 2014-15 onwards. It's going to be 10 years. And you know, anywhere in the democratic world, after 10 years, anti-incumbency does set in. I guess he senses that, number one. Number two, this halo of Kattar Imandar, which was sort of his USP, whatever you say, fact is that has taken a beating. He may be completely innocent. I'm not passing judgment on the liquor gate scam. That's for a court of law to do. But the fact that day in, day out, you know, this was in the news, the media was talking about it, debates were happening on this, it was front page headlines. Somehow that halo, that pedestal of, you know, being not corrupt, that seems to have gone. By doing what he is doing now, resigning and literally throwing the onus on the people of Delhi, is he trying to, you know, does he recognize that because of that image taking a beating, he needs to do something like this, and that's why he's doing this?
Yeah, so I think, Zaka, this is from activist. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is becoming a seasoned politician. He's taking a leaf out of Jayalalitha and several other, you know, politicians who faced sort of, you know, the legal ambit, and they got away because they brought in mandate theory. And every time, you know, mandate is first past the post system, even if 40-45% people vote for a political party or individual. Let's not forget, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is the tallest politician as far as Delhi is concerned. There is no match for him in either in the Congress or in the BJP. So he realizes his law of diminishing returns. If the Aam Aadmi Party may not get 60 seats, they may get 40 seats, they may get 45 seats, but whatever, it will give him a chance to come out of it. The real question is that successor thing. Zaka, you have seen, does he have a Paneer Selvam? Does he have a Champai Soran? Does he have a Rabdi Devi? Those kind of, you know, models. And that is where a politician, you know, Arvind Kejriwal would face problem, because you can prop up a chief minister, Aam Aadmi Party wins. How will Mr. Kejriwal come back in state politics, or will he make a bid for some kind of, you know, national politics?
No, but he, I think, I mean, if the Aam Aadmi Party were to win, I don't think whoever he or she is who will stand in as chief minister for the next 3 months, I don't think that person is in a position, I don't think anybody is in a position in the Aam Aadmi Party, if the AAP wins next year's election, to say to Mr. Kejriwal, oh no, we're not going to give the chief minister's chair back to you. I don't think that is so much of a concern. The concern though is this, you can never predict the Indian voter. Anyone who has thought that, oh, the mood is favorable for me, therefore let me call early elections, or the mood is favorable for me, you know, there's no competition in the horizon, and I can go back to many examples. Let's, you know, Chandrababu Naidu in 2003, Mr. Vajpayee in 2004, Rajat Sethi. The problem is you can never predict the Indian voter. You never know how anti-incumbency flares up. And the fact is, yes, I think RP Singh, you have to give him half a point. Governance in Delhi has taken a big beating. Not least because the chief minister is in jail, but everyday basic governance services have taken a beating. So you never know how this, you know, flares up, or when this flares up. And many politicians, seasoned veterans, have found this to their own cost, that you never take the Indian voter for granted. So there's a big gamble that Mr. Kejriwal is playing. Will it pay off? Whether it is, whether it is held in November or whether it is held in February. Rajat.
Well, Zaka, I think you have to give it to Kejriwal that he, people know IITians for their engineering skills. They forget that IIT Kharagpur has a very famous drama society also. And Kejriwal happens to be my senior, and I can tell you he hails from that hostel, which was really famous for the drama society. I think he has picked up certain good traits out of it. He knows how shock and awe can actually give him a fresh start in an election cycle. One thing was sure that he would have thought through during his jail term was that he was fast his base was fast eroding. The halo around him was fast eroding nationally as well, not just in Delhi. At one point in time, he was seen as opposition leader number one. Even in several Mood of the Nation and surveys and all kinds of assessments that were done, he was seen even above Rahul Gandhi. But then, while the India Alliance did fairly well in several states, in Delhi, we saw a clean sweep for BJP, and Kejriwal, he had the time to go out and canvass within the city, but the city seemed to be losing its grip. And then off late, what we have seen, there has been an avalanche of governance deficit of sorts that has actually eroded the credibility of the Aam Aadmi Party at the state level and also at the municipal corporation levels. So all of this piles of anti-incumbency that has been building around him, I think only a shock and awe, breaking the mold approach could have saved him. And I think that is what he has gotten into. Where BJP will have to work hard is they will have to outwit Kejriwal. And outwitting Kejriwal is very hard. Because he over the period of time, he has really learned those skills and tricks of the game. And BJP still is languishing for that charismatic leader who can take head-on Kejriwal and can mount a sustainable challenge against him in the remaining 3-4 months or so.
I do concede that last point that you made is a very valid one. But before I get to that with RP Singh, let me ask Akshay Marathe. I don't want to jump the gun. Obviously, we'll know tomorrow who will succeed Mr. Kejriwal. And a lot of names are doing the rounds. We're running, all channels are running this, from Atishi to Saurabh Bharadwaj to Gopal Rai, Kailash Gehlot. There's even the name of Mrs. Sunita Kejriwal that's doing the rounds. When he was in jail, one of the reasons why he didn't resign, and that was being said in AAP circles as well as otherwise, was that he didn't trust whoever was a second in command to put in place there so that he or she would hold that post for him, and when he comes back, he would claim the chief minister's post. And there was this whole chatter that he would put his wife, Mrs. Sunita Kejriwal, as the chief minister. That chatter seems to be coming back with a degree of ferocity that we saw a few months ago, Akshay Marathe.
Zaka, I understand that in a country where family-oriented politics has been around for a long time and is very entrenched, I understand that there is a lot of speculation that Aam Aadmi Party will become yet another family-oriented party. But I think Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has made it very clear in his interviews in the past, even during the Lok Sabha elections, that his wife is not interested in any electoral position. She has been supporting him as a wife, as a partner, and we all really respect that about her. So the party will make a decision tomorrow from its leadership, and I can assure you that the next chief minister of Delhi will be as honest, will be as committed to the people of Delhi, and will continue to work in the guidance of Arvind Kejriwal, because the mandate at the end of the day has been received by Arvind Kejriwal. Tell me,
Akshay, we've had the Rabri Lalu model. When Lalu had to go to jail, Rabri became the chief minister. We've had the Nitish Manjhi model, and then of course that led to a big political skirmish between the two of them. And the latest is the Hemant Soren, Champai Soren model. Again, so much over this thing that Champai Soren is now left and joined the BJP. Are you in a position, Akshay Marathe, today to tell our viewers that whoever might replace Mr. Kejriwal will not go his or her own political way, or it won't lead to some kind of fracas 3 months down the line or 4 months down the line?
With respect for the parties that you mentioned, Zaka, all of those parties are one state parties. They are parties that have only one state government under them, and therefore they have these issues because there is only one pie to get a slice out of. Aam Aadmi Party is a national party. We have a chief minister in Punjab. Arvind Kejriwal is our national convener, and he has very good equations with the Punjab chief minister. So he's not an insecure leader by anybody's imagination. He's a very secure leader.
Surely Mr. Kejriwal can't go and become chief minister of Punjab. Let's be clear about it.
No, but I'm just trying to make the point that he's a leader who has shown that he's capable of empowering other leaders in the party, and I'm sure that whoever the next chief minister will be will work with under Arvind Kejriwalji's guidance and continue to serve the people of Delhi.
But again, Akshay, it just beggars belief that that in 3 months there are going to be elections. Basically, out of 5 years, Mr. Kejriwal has given up power for 3 months and then made a huge virtue out of it. Are you telling me people of Delhi cannot see through that?
I'll tell you what the people of Delhi can see, Zaka. People of Delhi can see the 25 lakh children who have passed out of Delhi government schools in the last 10 years. They can see the 75% of households that get free electricity in Delhi. They can see the number of households that get free water in Delhi. They can see the number of women who have got free transport in Delhi's buses. That is what the people of Delhi believe in.
Okay.
Arvind Kejriwal is not just a person. He represents all of these governance ideas.
Okay,
he represents this model of politics.
So RP is saying as long as there is free electricity, free water, free bus tickets, good government school education, you can't match the Aam Aadmi Party. And the point that Rajat also made, who in the BJP today, you tell me, in the Delhi BJP, who is there who can take on Mr. Kejriwal? The question that you ask of India Alliance, who, Modi versus who? In Delhi, it's Kejriwal versus who?
Kejriwal versus this. Every Delhiite knows this. Every Delhiite relates Kejriwal to this. Every Delhiite. And they don't want their families to be destroyed by one plus one free. They don't want their children to be destroyed by having their vents outside these schools. They don't want their elderly parents to face the problem when they go to Gurdwaras temple, when there are vents outside the Gurdwaras and temples or the religious places. So people know when they will see Kejriwal's face or Sisodia's face, they are reminded of a liquor bottle, and they don't want their families to be destroyed. And also, he was talking about Punjab. Today is the 2.5 years of Punjab government. Just one, I'll ask for one question. They said people who discredited the Guru Granth Sahib, मैं उनको 2.5 दिनों के अंदर जेल में डालूंगा. He was doing this, and this is 2.5 years. जिन्होंने गुरु ग्रंथ साहब की बेइज्जती करी थी, वो आज भी घूम रहे हैं. No punishment for them. And what are they talking about the governance? This is the governance model. They make tall promises. I just told you how many buses are there, DTC buses in Delhi. In put together 3,600 buses. Delhi needs 15,000 buses today. You might announce that you are giving free buses. But respond. Free bus ride, I didn't interrupt you. Please hold on. I never interrupted you. Hold on. So just 3,600 buses. Delhi needs 15,000 buses today. That's the model. Yeah. The health services are crumbling. By taking medicine at their Mohalla clinic, 3 children died. 6 were hospitalized after having medicine on the Mohalla clinic. So this is their model. So people are enough through with their model. And I give a challenge. I give them a challenge. 2.5 years of your Punjab model, give you 25 more days. Please arrest those people who did Bezwi of Shri Guru Granth Sahib.
Okay, let Akshay Marathi respond now.
Please, I want to make a factual point. I know Mr. RP Singh ji wants to contest the Delhi election on a BJP ticket. Please correct yourself, sir. Delhi has the highest number of electric buses in the country. We have 8,000 in total. This is more buses than we have had in the last 10 years.
They were all given by the central government. They were all given by the central government. How many DTC buses which were given by the state government?
That we have launched? I don't want to get into
buses are the central.
I don't want to get.
Prime Minister Modi is
no, he's saying Akshay, he's saying that all these buses were given by the central government under the Urban Renewal Mission. It has nothing to do with the state government. You're just taking credit.
Now that he has been caught lying, now he's taking credit for the buses. You know that doesn't work. You have to be consistent. You cannot claim there are no buses. And then when I'm telling you there are buses, you are saying, oh, we have given you the buses.
Okay, he's giving you a challenge.
I am giving him a challenge. If you want to defeat Kejriwal, use your 20-25 year state governments in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, and do the work that Arvind Kejriwal has done.
One second. RP saying, what is the challenge?
Sir, don't compare your schools, your pitiable schools. The court has given order against your schools. Adverse observation against your schools. They have been run under tin sheds. There are 220 children in one class. What are you talking about your schools? What are you talking about? You murdered 3 IAS aspirants in Delhi because of your senior system.
I don't want to engage in a shouting
match. I don't think that's helping our viewers either. But let me give quick 10-second response and then final word to Rashid and to Rajat Sethi after that.
I'm going to give BJP an unconventional advice. If you want to defeat the BJP, you show that you can do what Kejriwal has done in Delhi in your states. You have Haryana, Rajasthan, MP. You have so many states under you. You show that you can improve government schools. You show you can give free electricity. You show you can give free transport to women. You show them that you can do all this without running.
So you know the problem, Rashid Kidwai, with this whole free electricity, free water model is that at some point it's going to run out. It's not run out in Delhi because Delhi is the national capital. It has a budget surplus and so on. But at some point, look at what has happened in Himachal Pradesh. Look at what deficits are being run up in Karnataka, even in a state like Karnataka, which has extremely high GSDP. The point is, this is an unsustainable model. And frankly, today, everyone is doing it. Even in Maharashtra, they've launched this universal Ladki Behna scheme. So the point is, this seems to be our politics going forward. Try and give as much of these lollipops, these welfareisms, these ravedis as they are called, and then hope that the poor class vote for you. Anyway, the middle class doesn't turn up for voting. So hope that the poorer classes vote for you. So whether it is an AAP in Delhi or whether it is the Mahayuti in Maharashtra or a Congress in Telangana and Karnataka, this is the same model. Everybody is just following the same model. Rashid.
Yeah, that's why Zaka keeps saying Mr. Kejriwal has become a seasoned politician. He knows that he just has to win. There are many social groups in Delhi who vote differently in Lok Sabha and State Assembly, and that is the strength of Aam Aadmi Party. The BJP has not been able to expand its base in the State Assembly elections, and that's a real challenge for Mr. Harpreet Singh's party. But the litmus test for Mr. Kejriwal is how the manner in which the new chief minister is elected. Is it going to be the Congress tradition where he would be authorized to name it, or will it be a real genuine head count? That we need to see. And second thing, Zaka, that you see, whoever is the new chief minister, if a new chief minister leads Aam Aadmi Party to victory, how would you deny him or her kind of credit for that victory? So these are the two basic challenges.
On that again, I have a different take, because it's not like Mr. Kejriwal cannot campaign or Mr. Kejriwal won't be there in the public eye for the next 3 months. He'll be very much front and center of the Aam Aadmi Party's campaign, just like Jayalalitha was, or Lalu when he came back and so on. But Rajat, I think the fundamental and most critical question is this. How does any party that is opposed to Aam Aadmi Party, whether it is BJP or Congress, there is this, love-hate going on between AAP and Congress, and given what has happened in Haryana, where there's no alliance between the two parties, I highly doubt there's going to be any kind of alliance in Delhi. I think that's pretty much dead in the water. The point is, neither of these two parties are in a position to challenge the Aam Aadmi Party, despite all the negative stuff that's happened, all this corruption stuff, their top leaders going to jail. And I genuinely say this, that there is a governance deficit in the national capital, not least because of this ongoing political war of words between the LG and the state government. But be that as it may, no one is able to politically capitalize on this. And that's just the political reality of Delhi.
You're absolutely right. I think given that there are just so many governance deficits that you can see all around, in just a matter of few days from now, you will see the entire capital city would be engulfed in smoke and an unbearable air. Kejriwal promised that he will get, once he has Aam Aadmi Party's chief minister in Punjab and thereafter in Delhi, there will be coordination committees, blocks. Forget that. Look at water availability. His own home constituency of New Delhi, where he gets elected as an MLA. We've seen pictures, such sorry state of pictures, where water tankers were looted literally by the people who were desperate for every drop of water. That's a picture which should ideally haunt him. No person should get elected based on those sheer pictures. But the problem is that the state unit of Delhi has largely struggled to exist independent of the shadows of the national unit sitting here in Delhi. They've never been able to assert their politics that well because of
that. I'm afraid is time on the debate tonight. Thank you very much to all our guests. We'll see. Tomorrow is going to be an important day. We'll know who Mr. Kejriwal decides to choose to replace him as the next Chief Minister of Delhi. Of course, Delhi elections are due in February, and he has, cleverly, one could argue, put the whole ball back in the people's court and made it more political and less legal. He's basically saying the verdict on whether he and Sisodia and others who went to jail for the Liquorgate scam are guilty or not will be given through an electoral verdict where he knows he is at an advantageous position. But we'll keep an eye out on how that plays out tomorrow. The FBI said it was investigating what appears to be a second attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. The Secret Service fired at an armed man at Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida on Sunday, just 2 months after he was wounded by a bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump was on the golf course just a few hundred yards away when Secret Service personnel spotted a person who was concealed in the bushes, and they immediately opened fire at him. The suspect fled the scene in a vehicle. He was taken into custody later at a traffic stop. He had a rifle with a scope which was recovered from the bushes, along with a camera and 2 backpacks. It was not yet clear whether the suspect had indeed fired any shots before the Secret Service shot at him. US law enforcement officials have identified the suspect as Ryan Wesley Ruth of Hawaii. Previously, Ruth had expressed a desire to fight and die in Ukraine. His posts on the social media site X have revealed a flair for violent rhetoric in the weeks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. This is what he posted at that time, and I quote, "I'm willing to fly to Krakow and go to the border of Ukraine to volunteer and fight and die," unquote. Ruth is a former roofing contractor from North Carolina. He was interviewed by the New York Times in 2023 for an article about Americans volunteering to aid the war effort in Ukraine. Ruth, who has no military experience, said he had traveled to Ukraine right after Russia's invasion, and he wanted to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight against Russia in Ukraine. Back at the golf course, Trump had been playing golf with his friend and campaign donor, real estate investor Steve Witkoff, around 1:30 in the afternoon when the gunshots rang out. Trump was between the 5th and 6th holes, and Secret Service agents were traveling 1 hole ahead of him. They were on the lookout for potential threats on the course. An agent had spotted the barrel of a semi-automatic rifle poking through the bushes. The agent then opened fire on the suspect, who escaped in his car before he was caught out later by the police. Vice President Kamala Harris, and the person who's challenging Donald Trump for the presidential elections in November, she put out a statement. She said she was deeply disturbed by what the FBI said was a second assassination attempt on Trump after the previous one back in July. She condemned the political violence, according to the statement that was put out by the White House Sunday night. Even though Secret Service agents managed to thwart this threat very quickly, this episode does raise new questions about the agency's ability to protect candidates in its charge, particularly Donald Trump. The Secret Service significantly increased Trump's protective detail after coming under intense criticism following the first attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania, that happened on the 13th of July. The increased security detail included additional agents as well as enhanced on-ground intelligence. But both of it seems to have come short over what happened this weekend at Trump's golf course. In fact, after the first assassination attempt, the then Secret Service chief got into a lot of trouble with her apparent lack of ability to defend what happened, and also to try and get to the bottom of how a former president who was very much within the protection of the security service, the Secret Service, how he had a bullet grazing past his ear. Eventually, she had to step down because of all the blowback. Again, the second time in Florida at the golf course that happened on Sunday, the fact that a gunman was able to get a semi-automatic rifle with a telescopic sight so close to the former president, just about 300 to 500 yards away, underscored how many urgent problems are still unanswered and unresolved when it comes to Trump's security. What it also shows is how difficult it is for the Secret Service to respond to an unpredictable and an increasingly violent and volatile political environment, an environment which Trump himself had a role in shaping. As in Pennsylvania during the first shooting back in July, the biggest issues surrounding Trump's protection seem to involve securing the protective perimeter of a targeted site. In the Florida instance, for example, it was a private property. It was a golf course owned by Trump himself, and yet the perimeter was not fully secured. Trump still retains a protective detail which is smaller than the one that is given to a sitting president. That in many ways limits the kind of protections that the Secret Service and their local partners can provide to Donald Trump. At this level that Trump is in right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was the sitting president, then they would have had the entire golf course surrounded. There would have been greater scrutiny of the people who were allowed to enter such a premises, even if it was a private one. The fact that an ordinary person was able to enter the golf course with a semi-automatic rifle, a scope, and 2 backpacks unchecked is a serious question mark over security. But because he's not a sitting president, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems where it is possible for them to best secure him to the extent that they can. How this second shooting will play out on the rest of the campaign, that remains to be seen. it is unlikely that Trump would get the same kind of bump that he had in the polls right after the first shooting in Pennsylvania back in July. At that time, the shooting was soon followed by the Republican National Convention, and Trump, of course, appeared there with a bandaged ear. He came across as a larger-than-life figure who procured the sympathy of even those people who may not have been his ardent supporters. Trump, with his blood-soaked ear, pumping his fist in the air, asking his supporters to fight, came to be one of the defining images of the campaign up until then. But then, a lot has changed since then. Joe Biden dropped out of the race. Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee. She managed to quickly rally both the leadership and the rank and file of the Democratic Party. And just last week, she put Trump on the mat, beat him squarely in the first and perhaps only debate of this campaign season. But even without a Trump bump post his second hit at his Florida golf course, it will harden the positions of his own supporters. Whether or not that will foment sympathy for Trump beyond his hardcore MAGA base, that still remains in doubt. And right now, the biggest challenge for the Trump-Vance campaign is to extend their likability, to extend their support base to those who are outside the hardcore MAGA base, which seems to be a problem that Trump is stuck with. And unless there is significant sympathy in the aftermath of the second assassination attempt, that is going to be hard to change between now and November. So this is the second attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the former U.S. president. We'll start with that, and let's talk to someone who knows a thing or two about U.S. national security. He's been former national security advisor in the Trump administration, also former American ambassador to the United Nations. John Bolton is now joining us. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bolton, for speaking with us. So I'm sure you must have followed the news just as closely as all of us have about this second attempted assassination on Donald Trump, this one at his own golf course in Florida. What do you make of it?
Well, it certainly sounds in some respects like it's a copycat attack based on this individual having watched what happened in Pennsylvania. And I think it's, for that reason, an indication about why we need to lower the rhetoric and lower the references to violence and the temptation that somebody will try and make another attempt. You know, it's also part of a pattern of difficulty. If someone's willing to risk getting close enough to be captured or even killed himself to assassinate somebody, it's very, very hard to prevent it from happening. I think the Secret Service deserves great credit here, but it's obviously a warning of potential things to come.
What does it say about the Secret Service and its ability being drawn into question, first in Pennsylvania, now in Florida, about protecting someone as high profile as Donald Trump?
Well, I think in this case at the golf course yesterday, they succeeded. This individual was 500 yards away from Trump. That's 5 American football fields. You can't put bubble wrap around him 500 yards in all directions and expect him to carry on a campaign. Could the Secret Service use more resources? Sure. I mean, I speak as someone currently under Secret Service protection against the Iranians who have tried to assassinate not just President Trump, but a number of others of us as well. They've got resource limitations like every other human endeavor. So I think what you're seeing in Congress, the quick reaction is the Secret Service needs more resources and they should get it, and that Trump's personal protection should be beefed up to the level of an incumbent president. And I think in light of what's happened, that certainly makes sense.
There is one view which seems to suggest that the level of political rhetoric and almost rhetoric to violence has been heightened so much that, someone should have foreseen this coming. Do you agree with that view?
Well, as I say, to the extent this is a copycat, in other words, somebody who's kind of lit off by seeing somebody else try and do it in a country of 320 million people, that's pretty hard to suppress. But I do think we could all lower the level of political rhetoric, including Donald Trump, who last night tweeted out, I quote, "I hate Taylor Swift." Now, I don't listen to Taylor Swift's music, but that's not my judgment as a music critic. He needs to stop it. Other people need to stop it. And let's get back to talking about very difficult issues that face the United States.
I do want to ask you, the last time there was the attempted assassination in July, it was followed by the Republican convention. Trump, of course, got a big bump up in the polls at that time. Do you see a fallout similar to that or very different from that this time around? And why?
Yeah, It's a fair question, but it's very hard to answer. I mean, perhaps we'll learn more about this individual's motivations. At least according to early reporting, he contributed to Democratic candidates. But it's a mistake, I think, for those of us who are engaged in public policy to assume that because somebody like this attempted murderer, because he says things about politics, that those are the things that motivate him. I mean, I think this fella, like the guy in Pennsylvania, has mental issues, and I think that's probably the bigger motivating factor rather than who he contributes to.
You don't see this moving the polls in any meaningful way, do you?
I don't at this point. The country is very divided. All the polls are within the margin of error. Again, it depends on learning more about this individual and how people react. Trump himself seems to have taken it rather coolly. He thanked the Secret Service for their work and joked that he had wanted to continue playing golf. So I think maybe the first time was a bit of an experience for Trump. Maybe this will be it as well. Maybe it'll help to contribute in toning down his rhetoric.
What do you make of the state of the race as it stands today? We're less than 2 months out into November. Particularly after last week's debate performance. I'm sure you watched the debate where the almost consensus view seemed to be that Kamala Harris had a better night than Trump. Where does the race stand as of now, in your view?
Well, I think it's dead even. Almost every poll you look at, whether registered voters or likely voters, whether nationwide or state by state in the battleground states, is within the margin of error. And I think what that means is that while Kamala Harris has certainly recovered from the depths that the Biden campaign had fallen to, she's back up to the level of a generic Democrat, and she has not made the sale completely. So as you say, there are right now 50 days to go until Election Day, and I think it's anybody's guess at this point.
Do you see, they say, momentum is a big thing. Of course, Kamala Harris had huge momentum when Biden dropped out, and within a few days she was able to wrap up support of the Democratic leadership and the rank and file. But that momentum seemed to sort of taper off a bit going into the debate, and then, of course, the debate performance happened. And everyone seems to say that it's her campaign that has wind behind its tail. Do you see anything changing substantially between now and November for that situation to change?
Well, I think the momentum comes and goes, and certainly the bounce people expect after a convention, the bounce after a successful debate is probably happening. And sometimes it's below the surface of it, increases the determination of weak Harris supporters to vote for, shakes up the Trump supporters a little bit who see such a poor debate performance. And that translates into poll numbers down the road as people think about this. It's not like a slot machine where something happens and suddenly everything turns around. I think people do tend to consider this to be a serious vote, so they're not going to react immediately. But it also means you could go very late in the campaign and still have a large number of undecided or weak supporters on both sides, and they could all shift in the very last days of the campaign.
I do want to ask you, and if you can explain to our viewers who are watching in India and around the world, just in terms of foreign policy, the two big wars that are on right now, which are ravaging the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas war, how do you see that playing out under a Harris presidency as opposed to a Trump presidency?
Well, on Harris, we still know very little about her foreign policy. She didn't have much experience as a senator in foreign policy. She's been for 3.5 years attending National Security Council meetings in the Biden administration. My guess is for the first year, at least, of a Harris administration, her foreign policy would look a lot like Biden's, that she's on a trajectory and would continue until external events intervene or until her advisors begin to have more of an influence. I think she'll have a new team. I don't think she'll keep on, at least at the very top levels, very many of the Biden people. But it's still difficult to predict her beyond that first 9 months, 12 months. But I do think it would look a lot like Biden. Trump being Trump, you really can't predict what he'll do on any given day, but he's taken a very negative tone toward Ukraine, tilting very much toward Russia in that war. His vice president just suggested a peace plan in Ukraine that looks a lot like Vladimir Putin's wish list for that war. So I think that's a pretty good indication. And I think in the Middle East, Trump has said he wants the conflict in Gaza ended, not because he has an idea how to do that, but because he doesn't like the negative publicity. So that's Trump for you. He doesn't come with a philosophy. He doesn't come with policies. He comes with impulses and really anecdotal, ad hoc, transactional treatment of one issue after another.
And between these two, Harris vis-a-vis Trump, which of these two you reckon would be better for India and India-US ties?
Look, I think it's a coin toss between them. I'm not going to vote for India which one would be better able to make progress in our relationship. But I do think between India and the United States, there are many, many common issues here, many common threats that we face, some difficult issues as well. But relations between India and the United States are going to be critical in the next several decades. And frankly, from the U.S. point of view, we just need to devote more time and attention to it.
All right. John Bolton, thank you very much for joining us, the former National Security Advisor and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, with his thoughts on this evolving and shaping race in the United States in the American presidential election between Trump and Harris, of course, coming on the back of this second assassination attempt on Trump's life, although no one's quite sure what kind of a political fallout and electoral fallout that might have. That interview goes up on our social media platforms as well as on our website, news18.com. From me, Zaka Jacob, and the rest of the team, thanks for your time. We'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. Good night.
Uptake in the security for President Donald Trump.
All right, Daniel and Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Daniel, thank you so much for breaking all of that out for our viewers. It definitely helped us understand the timeline as well as the spot where this incident actually transpired. Since you were there, you're an eyewitness, would first want your understand to sort of elucidate what exactly transpired there at the spot.
So it was a very chaotic scene. There was a lot of police officers that were there, and it was very chaotic. A lot of police officers with a lot of guns, and there was a lot of people yelling, and it was very chaotic. I wasn't really at the golf course, but I was there at the suspect who did get arrested. And there was a lot of police officers who were outside trying to apprehend him, and it was very scary for me.
Right, Daniel, also you have posted a couple of videos on your social media profile. Would help us understand, please, what exactly is there in those videos? What are we looking at?
So in my videos, there was a lot of helicopters, police patrol. There was a lot of type of cars and stuff like that we saw. In the far right, it was actually the suspect's car. It was a Nissan. It was a Nissan Altima, and that was a helicopter that was from the police county. But there was a bunch of police officers that were here, and they all had guns, snipers, rifles pointed at the car, and they were all screaming and yelling at him.
Also, how exactly was former President of the United States escorted after this incident transpired there at the spot, Daniel? Was he escorted to a car, to a safer spot? Are you a regular visitor of that spot as well?
So yeah, I'm not really a regular visitor. I was from a different part of Florida, and I was just coming here. And yeah, I did see a bunch of police officers, and I did hear that President Trump was escorted outside of his estate, inside of his by the Secret Service. He was escorted by a Escalade, and they took him away.
And were you there at the spot when the shooting actually happened, when this man, Ryan, who has now been arrested for this attempted assassination thing, were you there? Did you see him?
I didn't see him, but I did see his car that did speed off, and I was actually there. And I think I saw his face for a little bit after he sped off, and then the police caught him afterwards on the traffic.
All right. And have you heard from anybody who would have perhaps spoken about Ryan being a regular visitor of that spot? Does anyone know him at all?
What to my knowledge is that there's nobody. This seems like a out of the blue statement. Nobody knows who this guy is. He seems like a very liberal man, and he looks like that this was definitely planned, and he definitely wanted to kill President Trump today.
All right. Please, Daniel, help us understand the demography of that location. Since you're an eyewitness, you were there. Would really love to understand from you where exactly that man was standing and how far was he from Donald Trump?
As I say again, I wasn't there at the golf course. I was there at the arrest, but I do hear from several news accounts that the guy was standing probably around 300 feet. If that's what I was heard, he was probably standing around inside of the bushes. I don't know the estimates, but he was inside of the bushes, pointing a rifle at President Trump. Then Secret Service.
Two states at the crossroads of change. In Jammu and Kashmir, the stakes have never been higher. Will the promise of peace and progress prevail? In Haryana, as the fight for power intensifies, will alliances and caste equations shape the future? As the battle for states intensifies, tracking every twist, every turn, and every key moment, only on Battle for the States. Presented by
See him and then did fire at him with a couple of shots, which did scare him away, which made him get inside of his car and made a chase through I-95, which he was eventually stopping. I got to see the arrest right in front of my eyes.
Okay, Daniel Siddhant this side. I want to take a question from you. Would like to understand the security setup ahead of this incident, because there is a version we are getting from Palm Beach Country Sheriff, and a sheriff said that if Donald Trump had been the president, the entire Gold Coast would have had full security. But since he's not, only certain areas were protected by Secret Service. Can you confirm the kind of security setup outside the Gold Coast? Was it fully protected or was it partially protected? Some areas were only protected by Secret Service. Can you share a little bit about that security setup?
So I could see that the security definitely has improved from the original incident. After his first assassination attempt, there was little to no security. But now definitely after we see how the way that they responded towards the situation, we definitely saw that there was a definitely upload of security from different types of police branches. So we could see that President Donald Trump did have more security all around the world, and especially wherever he's at. Thank the Lord that they were able to spot the suspect before he fired at President Donald Trump, and we definitely could see an uptake in the security for President Donald Trump.
All right, Daniel and Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Daniel, thank you so much for breaking all of that out for our viewers. It definitely helped us understand the timeline as well as the spot where this incident actually transpired. Since you were there, you're an eyewitness, would first want your understanding to sort of elucidate what exactly transpired there at the spot.
So it was a very chaotic scene. There was a lot of police officers that were there, and it was very chaotic. A lot of police officers with a lot of guns, and there was a lot of people yelling, and it was very chaotic. I wasn't really at the golf course, but I was there at the suspect who did get arrested. And there was a lot of police officers who were outside trying to apprehend him, and it was very scary for me.
Right, Daniel, also you have posted a couple of videos on your social media profile. Would help us understand, please, what exactly is there in those videos? What are we looking at?
So in my videos, there was a lot of helicopters, police patrol. There was a lot of type of cars and stuff like that we saw. In the far right, it was actually the suspect's car. It was a Nissan. It was a Nissan Altima, and that was a helicopter that was from the police county. But there was a bunch of police officers that were here, and they all had guns, snipers, rifles pointed at the car, and they were all screaming and yelling at him.
Also, how exactly was former President of the United States escorted after this incident transpired there at the spot, Daniel? Was he escorted to a car, to a safer spot? Are you a regular visitor of that spot as well?
I'm not really a regular visitor. I was from a different part of Florida, and I was just coming here, and I did see a bunch of police officers, and I did hear that President Trump was escorted outside of his estate, inside of his
Two states at the crossroads of change. In Jammu and Kashmir, the stakes have never been higher. Will the promise of peace and progress prevail? In Haryana, as the fight for power intensifies, will alliances and caste equations shape the future? As the battle for states intensifies, tracking every twist, every turn, and every key moment, only on Battle for the States.
At L'Oréal Group, the Secret Service, he was escorted by a Escalade, and they took him away.
And were you there at the spot when the shooting actually happened, when this man, Ryan, who has now been arrested for this attempted assassination thing, were you there? Did you see him?
I didn't see him, but I did see his car that did speed off, and I was actually there. And I think I saw his face for a little bit after he sped off, and then the police caught him afterwards on the traffic.
All right. And have you heard from anybody who would have perhaps spoken about Ryan being a regular visitor of that spot? Does anyone know him at all?
What to my knowledge is that there's nobody. This seems like a out of the blue statement. Nobody knows who this guy is. He seems like a very liberal man, and he looks like that this was definitely planned, and he definitely wanted to kill President Trump today.
All right. Also, please, Daniel, help us understand the demography of that location. Since you're an eyewitness, you were there. Would really love to understand from you where exactly that man was standing and how far was he from Donald Trump?
As I say again, I wasn't there at the golf course. I was there at the arrest, but I do hear from several news accounts that the guy was standing probably around 300 feet. If that's what I was heard, he was probably standing around inside of the bushes. I don't know the estimates, but he was inside of the bushes, pointing a rifle at President Trump. Then Secret Service agents did see him and then did fire at him with a couple of shots, which did scare him away, which made him get inside of his car and made a chase through I-95, which he was eventually stopped. And I got to see the arrest right in front of my eyes.
Okay, Daniel Siddhant this side. I want to take a question from you. Would like to understand the security setup ahead of this incident, because there is a version we are getting from Palm Beach Country Sheriff, and a sheriff said that if Donald Trump had been the president, the entire Gold Coast would have had full security. But since he's not, only certain areas were protected by Secret Service. Can you confirm the kind of security setup outside the Gold Coast? Was it fully protected or was it partially protected? Some areas were only protected by Secret Service. Can you share a little bit about that security setup?
So I could see that the security definitely has improved from the original incident. After his first assassination attempt, there was little to no security. But now definitely after we see how the way that they responded towards the situation, we definitely saw that there was a definitely upload of security from different types of police branches. So we could see that President Donald Trump did have more security all around the world, and especially wherever he's at. Thank the Lord that they were able to spot the suspect before he fired at President Donald Trump, and we definitely could see an uptake in the security support
All right.
President Donald Trump.
All right, Daniel and Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Daniel, thank you so much for breaking all of that out for our viewers. It definitely helped us understand the timeline as well as the spot where this incident actually
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. It is extraordinary. Donald Trump has faced another attempt on his life. The shooter came within 500 yards of Trump, armed with a semi-automatic rifle. He couldn't get off a shot. But this is the second time in 2 months that Trump has been targeted. Is Donald Trump safe? Or does running for office in America mean putting a target on your back? The US is struggling to ensure the safety of its presidential candidates, but it hasn't stopped meddling in the affairs of other democracies. Washington is pushing New Delhi to ban Russian news network RT. Meanwhile, India is gearing up to hold the much-awaited census. Discussions are on about including the caste of Indian citizens in the survey form. In Bangladesh, a call for a nuclear arms treaty with Pakistan is going viral. The Maldives could be staring at a default, and it could seek New Delhi's help to save itself. And how Ford is planning to make a comeback into the Indian market, but with a different game plan. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Kiev invites the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross to Ukraine-held parts of Russia's Kursk for inspection. The Kremlin accuses Kiev of provocation. Last month, Ukraine attacked the Russian region of Kursk, seizing dozens of towns and villages. Meanwhile, Russia occupies around 20% of Ukrainian territory. In India, the police detained more than 100 striking Samsung workers. They were reportedly planning a protest march without permission. The strike at the Samsung plant near Chennai has been on for a week. The workers are demanding high wages and recognition for a union. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer meets his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni in Rome to tackle illegal immigration. The meeting comes a day after yet another English Channel migrant shipwreck. On Saturday, around 800 people crossed the channel, the second highest figure this year. Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to launch new biometric passports. The junta-led states are looking to solidify their alliance. All three countries have split from the regional bloc ECOWAS. Since 2020, the Sahel nations have been under military rule after a string of coups. And TikTok to begin its appeal against being sold or banned in